Hey, Molly, welcome to the Quantum Health Connection podcast. We're so excited to chat with you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I could already tell before we hit record that we have our only struggle today will be to how to synthesize all the things that we need to talk about. So many things, but I'm grateful to be
Absolutely.
here. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a really
amazing.
good energy already. I mean, I can tell that we're going to really connect on all the important points, and circadian being the top maybe of the list as far as in how that
Yes.
has informed your work, Molly. And I don't know, tell us about your journey, just a snapshot, because when you first started sleep, were you already on the circadian sort of, bandwagon or not?
Yeah, great question. So it definitely was in its infancy. So meaning I had started to learn about this loosely, but nothing will kind of spark that need like your own problem. And part of this was coming because, like many things with sleep, I often say with sleep is a barometer of the workability of our lives. The barometer for me was like not working, stress to the max, serial entrepreneur in Manhattan, burning the candle at both ends, and we know some of the concerns around urban environments and just a lot of things that could keep you from feeling your best. And so then when I started to take things on the road with my husband, we were together 14 years. And so also a serial entrepreneur himself, when we took everything on the road, that's when, just the level of stress. And I know we were chatting about histamines and more, just overflowed. The first night when we landed, because we had put everything in storage, and our plan was to kind of have a one-way ticket and travel the world and work on the go. But our stress loads and businesses were not at that point. So it was not as great of an idea as we thought. And so the first night, it was like a total resistance in the body of I had a panic attack. It was the only second panic attack I've ever had in my life. And then it was an immediate, like, did we make a mistake? What am I doing? And then try to fall asleep after a panic attack and jet lag. And we've been up so long. And so it's just, not setting things up nicely for sleep in general. Flash forward night after night, and I'm doing everything not to do now in retrospect, because now I'm trying to get sleep wherever I can. I'm all jet lagged. I'd grown up with not a lot of money, so I never really traveled much before. I didn't quite know how to even manage the jet lag side of things, let alone this dysregulated nervous system, circadian health. Yeah, important. But is that, just give me whatever's going to make me fall asleep. And so night after night goes by, and now I'm starting to develop with my, quick Googling, what appears to be sleep anxiety, which sounds like a horrible thing. And so sleep anxiety, and you never really want to go down these forum rabbit holes when you're in these states. Not a good idea. And yet I did. And so I found all these horrible, kind of possible futures for myself of, people that would say, oh, yeah, that happened to me. And now for the last 20 years, I've been on fill in the
Drugs.
blank, major drug, and it just gets worse, and buckle up and that sort of thing. So
Those
when
are the
I
worst. Those are the worst. I have so been there.
have you right,
I can so
exactly.
relate.
Oh my
At
gosh.
least that's like the doom and gloom tone. It's you stay away,
You
please. Yeah.
stay away, and
Mhm.
and yet I am, for better or for worse, quite an obsessive personality. And that's, we do see that there is evidence to support that there appears to be a common, not always exclusively, but a common type of person that might deal with marked chronic insomnia. Now, this was an acute phase insomnia as well, but what we might often see is some of these tendencies, this overthinking, rumination, perfectionistic tendencies, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Are you
Double
talking about
hands.
me?
Yeah, exactly. And so, I am like, I got to fix this. I got to figure this out. And that began this amazing journey with sleep and this reverence for sleep, where so paradoxical. So it's like the more you force it, it's like that Chinese finger trap, the tighter you're stuck. So it began this journey on kind of a mixture of the psychological aspects of sleep, of this letting go, kind of accepting that I'm in this phase of life that that's got a lot going on. And so we're going to navigate this and trust. And then also, these things that it sounds like for you all as well. And I'm excited to learn more in your areas of expertise. And I think we're going to do a podcast. It sounds like a swap to go in more deeply, but certainly this aspect of circadian health and, turning this upside down. Cause I just want to share that before this all happened, I was someone that did have a lot of labels and narratives. So I would say things like, I'm a night owl. It's just how it is. I'm a short sleeper. Oh, it's in my genes. Oh, my mom is a bad sleeper. This person, whatever. And these narratives around, well, you sleep when you're dead, and blah blah blah. A casual air back in the day and then I couldn't sleep, and now. Well, did I break my sleep? Did something happen? Now I used to be able to sleep and now I can't, which we see a lot for people that are struggling with their sleep too, is this kind of retracing their steps of like, whoa, how did I used to be able to sleep? And then I had a kid, I had surgery, I had a divorce, something happened and now I guess I'm broken. And so the unwrapping, the layers of the onion, peeling those back, really ended up being one of the best things that could have happened to me. And yet at the time, it felt like cruel and unusual punishment. So those
Yeah,
two
like
things can
torture.
exist. Yeah,
Not sleeping night after night is like torture because we're just literally breaking down, falling apart.
that's exactly.
And so how did you find your way out of that though? You were taking the drugs,
Yep.
did you get to even enjoy your travels or what happened?
I really didn't. And that was such a lesson of, wherever you go, there you are. Because we kind of hopped around from Madrid, Barcelona, Croatia, Budapest, Florence, different spots throughout Italy, et cetera. And nope, like really was, when you're bringing that way of being, was really not able to enjoy much of it at all because it felt like a panic state of, well, okay, I'm taking these drugs. How long is this going to be in the plans? And, how do I get on out of this? And unfortunately, every expert that I was finding, every doctor that I was going to, didn't have a lot of answers. And that's
Mm.
one of the things, today now on flash forward, just having been able to go through this journey of restoring this workability of our sleep, of my sleep and working with others, seeing that the average doctor, even out of Harvard Med, is getting around 2 hours of training in sleep. So this thing that we do a
That's
third of
about
our
how much they
lives.
get in. That's like how they get 2 hours of nutrition too. So two of
Yeah.
the most
Exactly.
really important things are sleep and the quality of our food
Yes.
and no circadian. It's like
Oh, they're just
there's
trained on
nothing.
what drug can I give you for this
Drug can I
situation?
Yeah.
get
That's
out?
this
I
is what they're
know.
trained on. I always laugh, like, I say this is like it's so easy, like, I if you're a surgeon or if you do something like that, that's really more challenging. This is not what I mean, but if you're like a general PT, it's like, "Oh, you have high blood pressure? Here's the high blood pressure med. Oh, you have this." It's like just like it's like I don't mean to dog it, but I just feel like it's just like it's an easy job compared to what I do. I feel like as a homeopath, I'm sorry. I have to like
Yes.
narrow it down and figure you out as a person. I sit with a person for 2 hours trying to figure them out and find the right remedy
Wow.
for them. It's it's like to me, it's just yeah, it's stop treating the
Mhm.
person and what's going on. Like you said before, right there, was it a grief? Was it a surgery? Was it this? Was it that? Like, what
Yeah.
is the impetus that caused this to happen? And then working
Yeah.
on that. And what
Exactly.
are the symptoms that you're experiencing? Because everybody who experiences like sleep issues are going to experience them different. Like some people are thinking about, their grief. Some people are thinking about, the monkey mind that just can't shut off. They're anxious. They're, having heart palpitations. They're having pain. Like there's just so many different symptoms that can show up. So it's just so interesting to me.
Well, and pairing that with the circadian disruptions. So
Yeah.
which one, how did you address or how did you
Yeah.
find the circadian piece, Molly?
Yeah, thank you for that. So, a few things. One, it was realizing that this is another reason why I think this actually, even though that acute period of time was so not great for my health, I believe that it actually likely extended my life and what's possible because it was so uncomfortable, so, had to get handled that it turned my habits and lifestyle upside down, meaning that beforehand I was acting like a shift worker. I was, going to bed so late, being justified and righteous about it the whole time and saying, oh, that's just how it is. I get my best work done late at night and all that stuff. That's so now, and just it still shocks me. both my husband and I, when we were just thick as thieves, the two of us always going to bed so late together. And so now on the flip side of that, having some of our favorite parts of our day being the mornings and, that beautiful experience and connection to sunrise and what have you. And it just goes to show the power of circadian health. And so that was absolutely to your question, a huge part of that journey for me was really turning my habits and behaviors upside down. So for some practical takeaways too, for anyone that might be listening and maybe struggling with their sleep or just looking to optimize and up level, there are two anchor habits that we do have everyone that we work with really bring about. And one, of course, is that light in the morning, that anchoring habit. And that's not exclusively, we want to have light throughout our entire day. And just knowing that that's that non-negotiable to starting our day consistently outside without, anything blocking our eyes or on our skin or what have you. So that anchor habit, but then also this other anchor habit of consistent wake up time. And then of course, when you are in alignment with these rhythms of nature, that all kind of goes hand in hand. Now I don't want to step over because I will work with many people in unique situations. So they might be shift workers. I mentioned that I work with a lot of high stakes poker players and I love to mention them just because they are a fantastic example of being in environments designed exclusively to confuse the circadian rhythm. So casino environments, with no windows, no signs of time, lots of blue light, lots of stimuli, all kinds of, maybe alcohol, all these different things that can throw all those clocks way out of whack. So working with all of those individuals and seeing that I do understand that we can't always get up exactly right at sunrise for those individuals now. And also sharing some of the real life concerns around from a health perspective, if we were to keep that going for an extended period of time too. But I get that that's the case. And then there are people in different parts of the globe that might only have a few hours of light during certain parts of the year, total darkness, total light, etc. So if we have certain considerations, then also knowing that we are creating our anchor ourselves too of that consistent wake time 7 days a week, plus or minus about 30 minutes. And that's where, and people always, not always, but often will say, yeah, of course. I'm pretty consistent. But then, if we do bring in wearable data, like Oura Ring, then we see a whole other story very commonly. Or there might be, kind of a large percentage of the time where, yes, they are anchoring, and yet then the weekends come or just the times when they don't have to get up at a consistent time. And then it's creating what is known as social jet lag. And that social jet lag is like, they didn't get on a plane, but now they're experiencing all the symptomology of jet lag. So to bring it back, so one, dropping those anchor habits in case anyone's like, okay, but how do I sleep? So bring those in. And that was a big part of that journey for me then was discovering how could I live in alignment with these rhythms of nature and have these help support my well-being, both physically and mentally, and that stress load and what have you. Now, fascinating pieces are, of course, zeitgebers or time givers from our circadian health. We know light dark being one of the most important ones measurably that impact our circadian health. But then there are all these other ones and include thoughts. So that's really fascinating. So one, thought timing is something that, like how I like to refer to it, is that the knowledge that our thoughts exist in our circadian rhythm. And so we have certain research to support this. For instance, if anyone is interested in learning more, we did have some of the lead researchers out of one particular study called The Mind After Midnight. And it's called that because some of the findings that they discovered were that the types of thoughts that were occurring in the wee hours of the morning, very different in nature than the thoughts, right? So at like 3 a.m., super different than 3 p.m. And some of the characteristics of those thoughts seem to be in the domain of kind of black and white thinking, catastrophic thinking, impulsivity, and sadly, suicidality rates going up in the wee hours of the morning, kind of that that stress load that can occur. And you could also, from a quantum health and circadian health perspective, look at some other things that might be happening. So commonly we see people with blood sugar instabilities as well, really happening in those wee hours in the morning too, that certainly can't help. And as we know, can often bring about some of those that psychological shifts in addition. So what we get to see is that all of these have this beautiful kind of complementary approach that when you restore the circadian health, a lot of these kind of thought patterns help to come together and be more workable. And as you learn more about this, that knowledge is power. So when you do wake up at 3 in the morning and you have all the thoughts about why your life is just headed down the tubes, you can know that this might not be true and that I don't have to believe this. And you could start to have a little, inner kind of contract with ourselves to reestablish or kind of, reassess these thoughts in the morning or when the light of day is present. And often they look a lot different as well.
As soon as you feel better, your thoughts are going to change. It's like a negative cycle.
Yeah.
Because when I
Yeah.
would work a lot with couples and relationships, it's like they co-create a negative pattern, and then we create our own negative cycle with our own sleep stuff. Because then,
Yeah.
right, things are starting to snowball. So I love how you say that, and it's like our body is trying to tell us something. Like we're supposed to be sleeping and relaxed now, and instead we're awake. Something's really wrong. But then that
Yeah.
translates into these like catastrophic thoughts, right? And all the
Yeah.
everything seems so bad. So I had
Yeah.
never heard that. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I want to look that study up
Good.
and the thought
Yeah,
timing
me
and
too. I never heard about that. And
yeah.
that was really resonating with me because I had chronic insomnia for like a year, coupled with chronic pain and chronic suicidal depression. And I would
Yeah.
have the chronic pain and the depressive thoughts in the middle of the night at like that
Yeah.
2, 3 a.m. time. And it was just really interesting that you've made that parallel because I never really heard of that before or thought of that. I mean, I think of it as in another direction, which I won't bring up. But anyway, it's just
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
very interesting. And now like I go to bed like so calmly, so peacefully.
Mm.
There's not a lot of thoughts. If there are thoughts, they're always like really positive. And when
Yes.
I wake up in the morning, I wake up with abundance of ideas. Like I'm like, oh, this. Like I'm like energy,
Yes.
hunger, and ideas. Like that's how I wake up. And I'm just like, whoa, like what is all of this? Like it's when I'll get a download as well. I get information. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Like I'm just like it's so cool. And I think that's great, I think, but I don't know.
Oh, of course. And that's what's so beautiful about this too, is as we strengthen the health of our circadian rhythm and have this knowledge that our circadian health really exists on a spectrum and there's strong circadian pulse and a weak circadian pulse. And I certainly, when all this was occurring, had very weak circadian pulse and to move on that spectrum is really, really supportive. And then all these things kind of snowball on amongst themselves. So meaning as we're getting ourselves outside more consistently, we're improving our vitamin D status, our serotonin, these neurotransmitters, just kind of this waterfall of things that help kind of set all these in place come to fruition. And we do know, in case anyone is listening and potentially really struggling with their sleep. There are studies to support that some of these things can at least align with the rhythms of nature in a relatively short period of time. Meaning that a couple of studies that are famously kind of pointed to is the University of Colorado studies where they took night owls camping, and these
Oh
night
yeah.
owls, right? And that one actually is. Those studies are great examples of helping to at least shake up the firmness by which a lot of people will point to chronotypes with. So people will say, well, we very much know that we have chronotypes and that's just how it is and da 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 da. But then when you see studies like this, it starts to, some of that kind of conviction unravels a bit, or at least brings new question marks. So meaning that when they take these night owls camping, then in the first study, they went for about a week, and the second study, a long weekend. And in the course of that long week, their melatonin production moved markedly hours earlier just by virtue of living in how we're discussing. So really largely an outdoor environment. So bright lights by day, natural bright lights by day, and then by night, an absence of any sort of electronic light sources. And just simply by doing that, nothing else, no other interventions, that melatonin pulse was able to move. I think it was about around 2 hours on average earlier. So how does one explain that when we just say, well, I'm just, I go to bed so late and that's how it is.
I
And
was
then
a night owl my entire life, and I fall asleep at 7, 8 o'clock in the winter now. So it's not a true
not,
thing. It's not.
what
It's
are
all
they?
about the rhythms that you're living. And
Yeah.
when I finally I finally started learning about sun, my circadian rhythm shifted just by going outside in the morning without sunglasses or anything on. Like just like I started sleeping better just from that one thing alone, not even blocking artificial light at night. That was the first thing I did, was just being out at sunrise and morning light for a few hours.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah, and it's like not even doing that. So it's like it's just such a small thing that just makes this huge difference. And we can change our circadian rhythms in 3 days, like
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, and another thing that we can point to in case people are like, "Oh, well, easy for these people to say or whatever, like, I don't have time for this," or whatever people do. Then then one of our most popular podcasts was with Dr. Sachin Panda out of the Salk Institute.
Mhm.
And we're very thankful to have him on. He was hopping around with Andrew Huberman and all these other people. So thanks for coming on our podcast. But one of the things that he pointed to was some of his research finding that needing at least about an hour of time outside to make sufficient melatonin at night. Now, the reason I mention that is because from such, kind of a mainstream approach to hear some of that information. Now, please don't hear that and put a cap on what's possible and think that, okay, my 60 minutes are up, I'm going inside for the rest of the day or anything. But at least to have some kind of ballpark to shoot for if you're like many people who, and I'm assuming people listen to this podcast are not probably doing as much of this, but a lot of people are only outside a very short amount of their day. I often cite the EPA did a study in 2001 and found that the average American was spending around 93% of their time indoors. And that broke down to inside spaces and then automobiles, both of which are going to, disrupt our circadian health. And that was in 2001 before, pandemics and work from home and Netflix on repeat and all this sort of thing. So,
I think the
um,
average person who's not aware of circadian health and light and the impact of it are not spending a lot of time outside. And
oh
that
no.
is the truth. And that's really, really a scary thing and that's why we're so disconnected from
Yeah.
source and intuition and everything. It's just so deeper than that in really, really
Yeah.
respects. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so to put a pin on all that or bow on all that, the way that we approach things, and this was part of my journey as well, is largely under that umbrella of circadian health. Now, does that encompass all that there is? Of course not. So certainly for women, we have not only our circadian rhythm, but we also have our infradian rhythm and extending beyond. And if we were to get on a more smaller level or ultradian rhythms, and there's a lot of rhythms, but certainly under this umbrella of what are these key zeitgebers, just to at least orient us to this 24-hour aspect of things from a sleep perspective or sleep wake cycles. We look at light dark, we look at temperature timing, we look at meal timing and type, exercise timing and type, thought timing, which we pointed to, and thought type, and then chronopharmacology or the timing of our drugs. And drugs could, of course, be our supplements, our prescriptions, our foods, meaning like certain things that could act as supplemental in nature, if you will. And then, very common things, caffeine, alcohol, THC, etc. So that's kind of the framework, but within there are so many other things that you can get even more nuanced, of course, for women of menstruating age and beyond. And then, of course, sleep disorders, of which there are over 100 sleep-wake disorders. And many times, many of us are going undiagnosed. Another call out for women is that we're often missed when it comes to diagnosing of these sleep disorders, particularly ones that are super prevalent, like sleep apnea or upper airway resistance syndrome. Commonly because, for one, we can kind of display our symptoms differently. For another, they can develop and they're dynamic in nature. So, meaning, even if you weren't dealing with these sleep disorders in 20s, 30s, what have you, post around 40, we're trying to sound the alarm for more women to get tested for sleep disorders because we become 1-to-1 with our likelihood of dealing with things like sleep apnea, upper air resistance syndrome to
Wow.
men. Post around 40-ish and change, as we're navigating these hormonal shifts and some of behavioral shifts, weight changes, et cetera, stress load beyond, all of these things can flare up the even severity or likelihood that we might be dealing with these.
Yeah, it's a
Mm.
lot of things to consider. So
Yeah,
I mean, obviously you've been doing this for so long, you're highly skilled, and you have developed a really powerful program. You've been mentioning aspects of it and how
sure.
you basically walk people through it. There's so many beautiful components. Like you have the behavioral, you have a way for them to track, like so you get data, and then of
Yes.
course you address the psychological, maybe mindset stuff. So tell us about maybe just your program, a little bit more of the aspects of it, and
Sure.
then your success rate and how do people respond to it.
Sure.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, so over the years, we have had a long-standing relationship with Oura Ring. So we have used Oura for many, many, many years. So we do have a really large database of Oura Ring users. Now, that's not exclusive because certainly I understand and encourage periods of time for people to not track and to be wary around tracking. And of course, we know EMF concerns, et cetera. One thing that is nice largely with Oura Ring is that it does allow you to track on airplane mode. Now there are still, especially in the more recent ones, they did switch over to different light options. In the past, it used to be infrared light, which is really great. And well, to a certain extent, it was red light piece, but even the light, as we know, can signal certain timings. So we always want to be mindful of this. But often what we've found is that at least for stretches of time, for people to get this level of awareness and gamification from a behavioral change perspective, we find that they're able to really have reverence for their sleep in a totally new way than they might have without these interventions. It's not to say that we can't get a lot of transformation if people even want the old kind of analog style of writing out sleep diaries and that sort of thing that can really still be awareness inducing and
Mhm.
helpful. Now, the only difference is or one aspect of this is that it can be very challenging and actually impossible for us to know what the heck is going on when we're in a different altered state. So having that information, even if it's a sampling or a stretch of time, is always eye-opening for people. And oddly, or maybe interestingly, while there's been a lot of call outs on, oh, but you don't want to track, if you have issues with your sleep because that can be more stressful, and the nocebo effect. So the nocebo effect kind of having that, oh, shoot, I woke up to this crappy score and now I'm going to kind of set the tone, in alignment with that, which there is research on that certainly. And the other thing I want to just throw in is one thing I've found for people, especially when they're struggling with, something that's very common called paradoxical insomnia. And paradoxical insomnia is when you might think that you just laid awake the entire night and you're just laying there. And I can tell you, I was up the whole night. Don't even question me. I was up the whole night. And yet, then if we were in a sleep lab, then we might actually say, like, oh, no, you did get some sleep. Now, we're not saying that that's great that you had that experience. And we don't want to, there's no gaslighting from a perspective of clearly something's not working if we think we've been awake all night. Now, but it can also be supportive to know that the body is so intelligent and it's still finding ways to kind of micro sleep and still get you some of that sleep just at least to function, for the rest of that day. And that's one of the things we can find with wearable trackers is that there are times where when people are going through things like that to say, oh, wow, I didn't think I got anything. And at least I got a few hours. All right. Set the
Mhm.
tone. I can get through this day. I can do this. And so those are just some examples, but on a more kind of common basis, one of the things that we see is that this helps shine a light on how much our behaviors impact things like our nervous system, particularly when we're tracking things like heart rate variability. So heart rate variability being a nice, somewhat of just a proxy of how our nervous system is faring and in alignment with other metrics that can give us ideas of that. So like our respiratory rate and our heart rate and our blood oxygen, temperature, et cetera. we can really get a window into how we're functioning there. And sometimes that can just that pulling outside of ourselves, seeing that subjective component can really, really help people. So that's the wearable side of things. And
Well, but
so
also,
that,
I'm sorry to
yeah,
interject, but people
no.
need to feel empowered. Like my body is not broken and I can do this and I have data and it hopefully it will be a positive reinforcement.
Yes, that's exactly what we see too, is that then when they start to see that trends-based piece where, like we mentioned with, say, the University of Colorado studies, if they were wearing Oura Rings throughout the course of that and we pan out in just in a week's time, oh my gosh, I was able to start falling asleep earlier. I was able to lower my heart rate with more ease by whatever, moving my meal timing earlier, or XYZ. It really begins to give agency in a place where we might have, without some of those interventions, been standing on, at the beck and call, or beholden, I should say, to, oh, well, I guess I need to take these medications, or I tried CBT-I, and I'm still not sleeping, so I guess that's it, or
Is that
whatever.
cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Is that
Yes,
CBT?
that's exactly cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. Another modality. So that is one that in the United States is supposed to be actually gold standard recommendations if people are dealing with sleep disorders. And now part of it is for it's does have fairly high efficacy for people, at least in the period of time that they're dealing with, especially if it's acute situation. And I will say also, I was one of the people that did try CBTI and was the overthinker and could not. Because one of the aspects of CBTI is stimulus control and really keeping your bed for sleep and sex, not orienting and connecting anything else to the bed. So a part of that is to manage wake ups or difficulty falling asleep in a particular way. So the thinking is that if you've been awake for a stretch of time, then you want to get up and out as quickly as possible, and do something light until you're sleepy again, and then you go in and try it again. But now if you've been awake for about 15, 20 minutes in bed, then the whole cycle begins again, which for overthinkers like myself, that was quite maddening because then I was like, well, how long has it been? I don't know. Okay. Well, now I'm still awake. Well, now I'm mad that I'm awake, and
That wouldn't work for me either. I could see that would not work for me.
Yeah. So another one, I've been seeing a bit of kind of Venn diagram emerging with kind of the conversations around sleep. So one being blending something called ACT, ACTI, acceptance commitment therapy for insomnia, and that lending itself to some practices around aiming, as challenging as it can be, to accept the fact that I am awake at 3 in the morning and I don't want to be, but I am accepting this.
The
And
acceptance equals the surrender, I would
this
say, and then the surrender helps the healing actually occur.
That is
So,
exactly. I know that was a big part of my healing too. And, continues to be because I see how commonly if something's not working, let me fix it. And how much that's kind of our life dharma for some of us. And here we are. So how can you blend all that with these rhythms? And even if you do have that rough night where you didn't get much sleep, but you're still committed to getting up to the sunrise and getting outside, and have that trust and count onableness in the faith and the beauty of sunrise and sunset to keep on going, even if we are in this period of unrest, no pun intended.
well, it sounds like you have like so many strategies for people because I was thinking like, oh, okay, if the circadian stuff doesn't work, where do we go? Like, what would you say? And there's like so many things I can see that you have that you're doing that are like it's way just beyond that, which is amazing because I do come across clients sometimes like homeopathically are like, I'm doing those things, but I'm still struggling, and what else can I do? And for me, that's the avenue I go. But then you have all these other really great things that you're talking about too.
Oh, totally. And I'm so glad you said that too, because
Mhm.
and I think no matter what, living in alignment with these rhythms of nature absolutely is going to support us massively. So, so important. And many people I think can hear what we might be speaking to and be like, well, I do that. Like, I get outside and I roll down the window in the car once in a while. Like I'm pretty good. But then when I think, where if we were to all go audit a lot of that behavior, it's really hard in our modern society to really be synced up with the rhythms of nature. Even I was sharing with you right now, I'm inside and I actually feel sort of weird because usually I'm outside. But that's only been a really tricky thing to navigate and to set up. And there's a lot of things that can come about when it's like raining on you and it's loud and it's this and the other. So,
Who knows,
yeah, exactly. It really takes something to live like that. So I think, most of us can forever keep building that muscle of how to really live in alignment with these rhythms. So coveting that. But then there's also all this really important work. And it sounds like Heather too, I'm excited to learn more about your work too, of just if the body feels unsafe and has felt that way for most of its life and trauma. And there's things that we also need to address and it can work in tandem because as we are shifting our vitamin D status or serotonin or dopamine and so many things that kind of can cascade and support the changing of the lens by which we're seeing the world around us. That can be really, really helpful. And there might be a multi-step process. So I'm glad you pointed to that because that's big.
Yeah.
Well,
Some
if it's not
people,
circadian, if circadian is dialed in, then we're going to have to look at the mental emotional because there's some unresolved issues there, buried emotions. So that has to be unpacked, right? And
Yeah.
the sense of
Mhm.
safety, yes, like you're saying, right, Molly, is safety in the world because there can be like cell danger response ties into all that. There's all these other facets to how our body is feeling in the moment as far as in being able just to be.
Yes.
Because
Just to
sleep is
be.
a total surrender, right? Sleep is a total surrender. Am I
Mhm.
safe to let go, to go into the subconscious state to just do whatever I need to do
Yeah.
biochemically and all the things? So if people haven't been safe at night, there's a huge psychological piece there.
Yes.
It
Huge.
penetrates everywhere. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's many paths to helping to heal that. And I'm really excited to learn about the homeopathy side of things a bit more. Peripherally have been delving into that, but would love to more of a deep dive. And then there's so many things that we see from what's been really cool with the data as well, whether just logged or from a more objective standpoint with trackers, and also with at-home sleep tests too for more temporary period of time, so that are have high fidelity information, and we can really dive in. We see things that are really interesting. So, for instance, things like MDMA assisted therapies, just transforming people. We see things around, certain other psychedelics. That's one bucket. Now, not saying that that is, for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
but that's one path. We see other paths where people start to do EMDR. They do more body keeps score, interaction of different modalities, hypnotherapies, and other practices. And so I'm sharing all that because there's many paths to this. And so not trying to say that there's only one thing. But there's a great book called The Gift of the Night. And I shared that just simply because I think it's a nice place to potentially begin if we are struggling with our sleep from a reframe perspective of that this is a gift. And even if that can feel, hard to believe when we're going through it, that there is available this opportunity to then discover these tools and things that can support us, whether it's, and because often I find it to be this big kind of puzzle or pie chart where a big slice might be the circadian health aspect of things. A big slice is really delving into some of those stuck emotions. A big slice is new stress management tools. Big slices, our type of nutrition and meal timing and type, getting that glucose navigated. A big type element could be some preliminary testing, at least to see, is just a snapshot of where we're at. If we got all kinds of markers that are all out of whack, and to just have a blueprint on where to navigate. But then other slices of this pie, we're not moving our bodies, we're not exercising, we don't have enough muscle mass. We, there's so many. And then, oh, by the way, relationships, we're lonely as can be because now we moved down to the middle of nowhere and now we have no EMFs and no this, that, and the other, but now we have no one around. So it's like,
I
how
love
do
that
we
you
do
just
that?
brought that up. I just really do. Like that was so great at the end there. 'Cause health is really not about one thing. It's so
Yeah,
holistic and there's so
yeah,
many factors. And whether it's insomnia or
yeah,
depression or
yeah,
anxiety or whatever it is, it's multifaceted and we have to work on many, many layers,
yeah,
especially when it's a chronic thing. And
yeah,
yeah, don't
yeah.
just move your body out to, the tropics and think everything's going to get perfect because that's probably not the truth. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's tricky. I mean, I wish it was easier too, because it's like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't want to be in, 5G heaven over in urban environments, but I also don't want to be off by myself as a lone ranger. And I also want to, eat well, but what season am I in? I know there's a lot. So, so I'm
And that's why
grateful.
people like need help. And
Yeah.
so we want to
Yes.
send them to your program, and you must have a really well tuned or honed like assessment, because there's so many moving parts as you're mentioning. Like
Yeah.
you have a way to manage all that and organize it and help people, because it can be overwhelming.
You
People
so
try
wrong.
this and then they're online looking for this and then they go to this naturopath or functional. I mean, it's just like it
Ah,
needs to
yeah.
be a very holistic yet
Tailored.
and comprehensive but guided approach where people don't get overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
where can people find you? Are you accepting people into your program now, or what are you offering?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Mhm.
Well, at sleepisaskill.com, people can do a bunch of different things. So one, they can take a sleep assessment to get some information right away on what they might be dealing with their sleep for free. I shared that I grew up with not a lot of money and want to support people that, no matter where they might be at, that at least we can be in action and then figure out what's next.
Mhm.
So they can do that for free. They can also sign up for our weekly newsletter that's been going out every Monday for, I think we're at 7 years now, which has been great. We never missed a Monday. So would love to
Amazing.
have whoever on there. And then we also have our podcast. So we're at, I think we hit now around 300 recordings of different experts. So those are all dropping routinely. So you can get free information there as well. Now, if people are looking for additional support, there are different things. So one, we do wearable audits if they are using trackers, so we can audit their data. And we do incorporate AI. So then we are pulling with an intense, much more laborious sleep assessment. So we put all that stuff that we were just talking about, and then we can help, to make sense of all that paired with your data if you are tracking. So there's that. We have cohorts, and then we have one-on-ones, and then we will be releasing going into the fall new offerings that will have kind of a hybrid model. So then we'll have kind of DIY options that have calls like this, like on Zoom, to be able to go in more deeply as well. So the aim is to provide information for wherever you might be at, even if you're just a little sleep optimization curious, we can support you there, or all the way to like where I was at, like rock bottom. Help me. We can support.
Oh, wonderful, Molly. Thank you so much for sharing all of those offerings. And we highly encourage the listeners to go check them out because you are a wealth of information. If you're struggling with sleep, please check Molly out. It's amazing. And we could talk to you for hours.
I
So
know. I wish we had more hours because I'm so fascinated by what the work that you all are doing. Thank you so much for providing a platform for people to share, like myself, on these things that really believe so, passionately around. I truly believe that in our modern society, sleep has become a skill. And so I really am left with the sentiment that both of you have developed and, honed this skill, and that you're helping to support others. So it's so important, so incredible, and I really believe can change the world. So great, great work.
And the more
oh,
rested people we have, the more the world's going to change to a happier place. So we need to do this. Yes.
yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Thank
good.
you so much, Molly. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Appreciate it.